since the world has changed, as I mentioned, that there's an opportunity to think about what we could do to help the cultural arts community. And one of the things that we had talked about was connection. So that's the theme of our meeting today. And trying to watch as other people come in. Oh, Jung-hoon. Hey, Jung-hoon. I enjoy watching your cats online. So I wanted to introduce our guests. We do have a few guests this morning. So Tina, says Christine, but she prefers Tina Sapula, is attending as a member of the public. And I'll let her do a 30-second intro. I had chatted with Tina before, it was like February. That's just ridiculous. It was a long time, about looking into the commission and maybe thinking about applying. So she's in an exploratory phase. So Tina, I'll give you a few seconds to introduce yourself.
I've been in the community for since 1971. I went to ISU and stayed. And then I opened a house in town called Clare House in 1978, I think it was, and took in homeless women and families for about 20 years. And then about the last 20 years of Clare House, converted it into a food pantry. And somewhere along in there, I opened Loaves and Fishes Soup Kitchen. So I've been very interactive in the community for a very, very long time. And when I retired in 2015, it was like, now what? So I really want to stay involved in the community. I love this community. It's a thriving, beautiful community. And I really believe one of the things that makes any community thrive and grow is music, art, entertainment. And I believe culturally it pulls us all into a stronger place. So I was having coffee one day and Rob Frazzini looked at me and he said, "Hey, this is opening up. Would you be interested?" And my husband's eyebrows got really high and I thought, well, maybe I should check this out. So I'm here and I'm here to listen and to learn. And if I like what happens this morning, I'll hand in my application. So,
no pressure.
So, no pressure.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm glad we're finally able to connect here.
Thank you.
Our other guest is someone I had chatted with, is a colleague at State Farm, and Keyshia Stokes. And I've been trying to get her connected as well over the last, that was February as well. So I'll let her do a few seconds on her introduction. Keyshia.
Yes, good morning, and thank you again for the opportunity to be with you today. I am originally from Greenwood, Mississippi, very small town in the Mississippi Delta. If anyone's seen the movie The Help, that's where it was filmed. So I too moved here to attend college. I went to Illinois State University and have 2 degrees from there. As Kelly mentioned, I work for State Farm Insurance. I'm also very involved in the community. I am currently the director of the food pantry over at Mount Pisgah Baptist Church. I'm also the immediate past first vice president of the local Bloomington Normal NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I serve in capacity of in leadership in another number of other different organizations, but just here to listen and learn and to see if the things that happen within this commission kind of fit what another area that I want to be involved in the community. So thank you again for the invitation.
Great, thrilled to have you here. For the benefit of our guests, we'll go around real quick and just let them know what we do, and I think that helps sometimes to anchor them in like the different areas that we come in. So I work at State Farm, but I've met Christine or Tina. The name under your face has difficulty there, and Keyshia. So I'm going to go in the order that this is displaying on my screen. So Meryl.
Good morning. My name is Meryl Brown. I'm the founder and clinical director at Developing Melodies Music Therapy Center. I'm in my second cycle of serving on this commission. I also serve as the president at Moses Montefiore Temple in Bloomington, and I do a lot of other stuff, but St. Jude Run Captain. And so this just fits obviously with my profession and my love and life. So I joined the Cultural Commission a few years ago, and I'm happy to continue to serve. So nice.
Great, thank you.
For joining
Melissa?
us.
Good morning. I'm Melissa Liebert.
You're muted.
Hi. I work at Illinois State University, and my main day-to-day
Melissa, you're on mute, or it's not coming through.
I can hear her.
Yeah, she's coming through for all of us.
We'll come back.
Ellie Frozen.
No.
Julia, how about you?
Hi, I'm Julia Kozad Callaghan. I live in Bloomington, but I work at Normal Public Library. I'm actually there right now. I may have to pick up my computer and move it into the boardroom when other people come in. So if you see me walking, my cameras start to get weird looking, it's because I'm moving down to a quieter place as people come in. Anyway, I've been on the commission for a while. I don't actually remember what year I started. And I joined because I'm a lifelong musician. I play in a professional handbell choir that's based in Springfield. And I've done a lot of other music in my life, and just am really passionate about keeping the arts alive in community. So that was why this particular commission appealed to me.
So I guess that was my computer that would not let me hear Melissa. So we'll go back to Melissa.
No problem. Melissa Liebert, my day-to-day role is at Illinois State University. I work for WGLT, our public radio station in Bloomington Normal, and WCBU, our public radio station in Peoria. I've been in the community about a little over 10 years, and this is my second year on the commission. Welcome to our visitors. Good to see you.
Very nice. Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Marc Hawkes. I teach over at Illinois Wesleyan University, and I've been here in Bloomington about 3.5 years, and I think maybe on the commission for 2 years or something like that. I'm not sure. Terry Renner, of course, teaches over at Illinois Wesleyan, and I was at a function with him, and I wanted to get more engaged in the community, and he pounced. So here I am, and I've been happy. I mean, I don't want to be wasting my time on boards and commissions that don't accomplish anything, and I really feel like we've accomplished a fair amount, at least in the time that I've been here, and I think from the history. So I think it's a valuable and viable and enjoyable commission in which to participate.
Thank you. Ron?
I'm currently in stop traffic on I-57, as I do almost every week. But I've been in Bloomington about 12 years. I live in downtown. I sell things for a living, travel a lot, and enjoy the commission, particularly in some of the things that we've been able to develop over the past 2 or 3 years. I may be also a mediator in the justice system for McLean County, working with small claims and foreclosures. That's enough.
Thank you. All right. So, and really quickly, I want to introduce our fantastic city support and liaisons. Jim Mack is our formal liaison, city sponsor. I don't know what you call that for the commission. Jim, you want to introduce yourself?
Right, good morning. My name is Jim Mack. I am the manager of the Bloomington Center for the Performing Arts. I am also, in regards to the Cultural Commission, the staff liaison. Been in Bloomington 2 years, overseeing the VCPA, and currently the Creativity Center, and I really enjoy this. I enjoy this commission. We've done some fantastic stuff in the last couple of years that I've been here, and if I had any complaint, it was the early morning meetings, so 7:30 is tough. So, but other than that, welcome to our guest, and it's good to see everybody on the commission. I'm glad to see everybody's healthy and happy, and everybody's got a smile on their face, so it's pretty nice. Yeah,
it is very nice.
Thank you for having me on the meeting.
Yeah, particularly at this hour. Jung Hoon?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm known for a pet guy, actually, because I have a miniature dachshund and also Persian cat, and I only put Facebook with those animal pictures. I'm the artistic manager of a BCPA, and I would like to learn all about the cultural movement here. So that's why I'm here. I'm glad I'm here. I moved from East Coast to this town in end of January, and pretty new, so I have a lot to learn. Help me. Thank you.
And Shannon supports us in a number of different ways. Helps us take notes, posts the meeting, works with navigates some of the city bureaucracy for us. So Shannon?
You said it all. Here you go.
Okay.
Good morning. I am Shannon.
Yeah, she helps keep things and keeps me legal. Open meetings and postings and things. There's some back office stuff that has to happen, and she helps with
teamwork.
That, so. Yeah. So I echo Jim's. It's very great to see everybody. And as I talked about, that this is sort of a moment to see how we can help. Since the world changed, how can we help, and how do we focus our efforts, our
Hey,
support?
Kelly, can I ask
Sorry?
Can I ask a question before we?
Yes, absolutely.
Since I know we haven't met in a couple of months, I just wanted to check on our absent folks. We didn't have anyone resign. They're just absent, right?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Sorry if I missed that.
Well, there's a
Good
couple
point.
people that have expired their commission. They're expired on the commission. I don't know how else to word it. I'm sorry. But their term is expired. I know Angelique's is expired, but I don't really know how that all plays out. I know that they have to reapply. I'm not sure if I sent the email to you, Kelly, so I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think everyone's, I'll have to double check. I thought Angelique was this next April, but maybe not.
Angelique and myself expired at the same time. I know that I renewed. I have my letter. I have been in touch with Angelique. I know that she's okay, but I don't know with regards to commission. But yes, so I'm done. One more to go.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I haven't gotten that information,
point.
so I would probably need to update our Excel sheet. So
yeah, that's a good point. And thanks for bringing that up, Melissa.
Sure.
I did hear from RJ a little bit, not this week, which is surprising, but I did hear from a couple weeks ago. So definitely still in the game. And Jeff, I heard from, he responded when I sent out my link and said that he would be there. And then I didn't hear from him when we updated the link. So, but as far as I know, yes, our full complement is here, but Shannon and I will follow up on terms. And they look to be updated on the website, the city website, but we'll double check.
Are the terms 3 years or 6? I should remember that, but I don't. 6
Pardon?
years? Is it three-year terms is the limit?
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes, you can hang out here for 9 years before you're thrown off.
Yeah. Well, it looks like also my name has an I that shouldn't be there, so I can probably serve under that alias for another 9.
That's true. You can be here as long as you want. Keep applying under your alias, your many aliases.
My aliases, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So good point there. Yeah, I was actually kind of taking role here because I do want to follow up with those that weren't able to make it to see how they're doing and if this format works. You never know what's going to happen. So anyway, when we talked about bringing people together at this moment, there's many of our artistic community that have their own businesses. There's venues that have been tremendously impacted. And there's an opportunity here to identify where we can advocate, where we can assist to bring people together, ideas. And Adam had way back when, before the world changed, had said, and after our November meeting had said, hey, you know, I'm a member of some online groups that really helped me from the theater perspective. It would be great, you know, that's one way to connect. So we invited him to a meeting and we had him scheduled up in February, and then things changed. So we're circling back because the world has changed and that idea has some interesting elements to it. So I've invited Adam and he was able to jump on at this ungodly hour of a meeting. And so I'll let him introduce himself and then talk about what you experience in the groups you're in and what you, given your current role, we're thinking about in bringing in creating some connections in this community.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as Kelly mentioned, my name's Adam Fox. I work for the town of Normal. I'm the civic arts manager for the town, which means that I do the programming of the Normal Theater, which has been virtual for the last couple of months, but we have been actively trying to still curate a film series as this has been going on. Additionally, I also do all of the events in Uptown Normal, so all of the major festivals and street events that we have throughout the Uptown district all route through me in some capacity, whether they be the block parties or the large scale festivals like the Sweet Corn Circus and things like that. So that is like the nutshell definition of kind of what I do for the town. How we do all of that has been making a really intentional change in that we want to make sure that we are engaging as many community partners as possible with everything that we do. My belief is that we have these community spaces, we have these community venues. We don't want to program for the community, we want to program with the community. And how we do that is meaning intentional steps are required. And those are what we're really trying to actively take. If these last couple months of being isolated in, you know, this is my office now, this weird basement setting that I'm in, but being able to take a step back and reflect on what we're doing and how we're doing it has been incredibly valuable to be able to say, well, what methods could we put in place? How could we better foster communication? And how could we make everything an opportunity for collaboration and growth for every organization involved? So that's the nutshell intro, I guess. Kelly mentioned the online groups that I was a part of. What really that is referring to is a group called Art House Convergence, an organization that is currently in some reconsideration, I guess you could say. There's some structural changes happening. But basically what it is a consortium of art house cinemas, smaller independent cinemas across the country and indeed internationally, who get together to talk about all of the industry issues that are coming up, but outside of the confines of thinking about somebody like AMC, right? Nobody there has got a 16 screen house and operates 30 theaters across, you know, just one metropolitan area. These are all smaller arts organizations, kind of like a traditional live theater venue would be. So there are a lot of challenges that are unique to that. The content is not the tentpole franchises. We're not going to show Avengers. We might do it as a special event 10 years after the fact, but we're not going to get it in its initial run. So what type of content are we programming, and how are we reaching the right audiences for that programming? Or how are we convincing our current audiences that this programming is for them and something they'd be very excited by? So all of those things are the topics of conversation that we have. There's an annual conference where all of this is focused discussion, but throughout the year, we all keep in touch through a Google group. And that's really the meat and potatoes of what I was wanting to talk about today, is that Google group. It is like the beginnings of the internet. Like when you first started out, you had like the the bulletin board services, right? The BBSs, just post your topic up here. Here's a question and people are going to respond to answers, right? It is the format that if you've been on the internet more than a couple of years, you remember what that looks like, right? The reason it's stuck around is because it's incredibly effective. Right? Organizing information by a thread with then different responses to it is a really easy and simple way for us to access that information. And even though there's lots of like great whistles and bells stuff out there, every week every day there's new things on the internet, this is a format that we know works. So that's why it's exciting to have that happening. So I was going to share, just to kind of show you the setup of it, I was going to show you what was going on with that Art House Convergence group, but since there is some proprietary information in there, it's a closed group, you have to be a member of it. Anyone can be a member of it, you just have to be accepted by the moderator into it. I don't know that it's appropriate to share individuals' posts with this going wide, or a potential for people to view this wide. So instead, what I will show you is, as he awkwardly hits share screen, this is a version of what we do that I created for just this community. So this is the Bloomington Normal Community Arts Organization's Google group. It has existed since December. Like Melissa, I think you're a member of it, a few other people, just as an initial test, let's just put together this thing and have it exist so that in conversations like this, we can reference something and talk about it. The basic idea, and I will share that link with everybody on this meeting so you guys can look at this directly. But the basic idea is that it becomes a central hub for posts of anything that's happening in the community from an arts organization's perspective. So think about it in terms of planning. Think about it in terms of logistics. Think about it in terms of wanting to find somebody to collaborate with, other arts organizations, a festival that you're thinking about hosting where you're looking for other performance groups, other established agencies to be a part of things, right? Think of it as an opportunity to look at the calendar for the year and say, here's all of the standing annual events that we have. We all kind of know when they are, right? But there's no central place where any of us can go where we have the opportunity to say, what weekend is that happening? Like when is Make Music Normal happening this year? And how does that relate to Brugala and what's going on with it? Like there's no one place you can really easily go to find that. And from a planning standpoint, we could be doing much better to stay out of each other's way, to support what everybody else is doing, to say, this weekend we have this going on. Next weekend, you should all, our audience, go and now support this thing happening right there, right? And find a way of being able to build those audiences, share those dates, and make sure that everybody knows what's happening. Right. So that's kind of the big picture idea behind it. What you're looking at here is pretty mellow, all things being equal right now. I have one post just as an example. It is called Shared Events Calendar, and it is me saying we should have a shared events calendar. Now, in theory, what would happen is then anyone could click here to reply. So I am replying. And then you post that information, and it's going to share that thread and keep everything going. This is not impressive, what's here right now. This you're looking at going, yes, I can see the beginnings of something on the internet, right? It is much more interesting, and I'll just jump over to the convergence one for a second. It is much more interesting when it's been established for a while and you have, oh, I'm sorry, that's our single screen one, excuse me. It's been established for a while and you have a total of 8,200 topics. Right? People have been populating this with thousands of data points. Some of them are irrelevant at this point. Others are very much still active and continual discussions. And that includes things like booking opportunities, how you're reopening, what software people are using and any issues that they have, questions about who has union labor in their house and who doesn't, right? Process and collaboration, right? That's what it's a space for. So again, 8,201 topics currently on the convergence page. We have one. So we have a ways to go, right? As far as being able to have that dialogue be populated. But what's great about it is that over time, you have the opportunity to say, hey, I'm trying to figure out who has the rights to this film. And rather than just throwing that out into the ether, you can just type in the search, you know, up from the streets licensing. I just did that one recently. And it'll pop up, because somebody has already posted that and you have it and you can find out if that contact is still relevant. So it's a really great reference tool in addition to a really great conversation tool. I will stop sharing the screen at the moment, but that's the basic idea of what I was hoping to establish within our community, that arts organizations, arts venues, arts companies, I guess, for lack of a better term, would have this as a shared space for dialogue. I don't know that it's a place for individual artists. Maybe it is. We can talk about that and how much we want to have that happen. It's more thinking about the big picture coordination and logistics rather than here's my headshot and resume, if that makes sense. So there you go. I've talked too long. I'm sorry.
Let me see what I can do. I'm gonna put you on mute for a second and chime in on the meeting. One sec. Hey, sorry to chime in, Adam. Sorry. Angelique is on the phone. She can't get into the meeting. Is there someone on the city side that could assist her? She's clicked on all the links. So just want to know that she's trying.
Merrill, I'll call her. I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Jim.
thanks.
Okay.
And Jeff is here really briefly. So welcome to Jeff. He's another one of our commissioners.
Thank you. I was here the whole time, but for some reason, when I clicked on it,
Oh.
it took me into an a bystander mode or whatever. So I could see everybody, I could hear everybody,
Oh,
but no one could see or hear me. So I started sending emails out going, I'm here. And so
okay,
Jim
great.
called me.
Well, I'm glad you heard the conversation, and we're
Yes.
glad you were here.
No, I was here, but for some reason, it didn't allow me to actually be a part of it for some reason.
Huh. Well, we withdrew your clearance, apparently. Sorry for that.
It's all right.
Thank you, Adam, for going through all of that. And I, personally see some opportunity there. I was thinking back to our November meeting when, one of the top 3 things was we need to connect more with each other. And but just initial reactions from everyone. What questions do you have? What is your feeling about what he's talking about?
I have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So Adam, my first question is, of the people who are on this currently, it's one of the things that we had talked about in previous meetings is really bringing together the local artists, the individual artists who have at times not really posted about events that they were having because it's just them, where they don't have the time to, add it to this calendar and add it to that calendar. So what is the percentage of this group of individual artists sharing their events or knowledge and using this group?
No, thank you. It's a good question. So for the one that we're envisioning or wanting to do, I think we can define that however we want to. I think that we have the space for individual artists, especially particularly active individual artists. A lot of what this is a great opportunity to say, hey, I'm doing an event. I was hoping to have some ukulele players. Hey, look, there you are on the call right now. This literally just happened while we were getting into this meeting, right? So some of it is just about that recognition of saying, hey, I need to have this at an event, and here's how we can do that. And having more individuals on the group, if they're representing other musicians or if they're an access point to be able to bring other community members in to collaborate on things, I think is very important. Where again, I think it gets awkward is you don't necessarily want to set up the same discussion group where organizations are planning big picture, thinking about how we all work together on things while also having at the same time, again, forgive me, I keep coming back to the same example, but an individual actor who's just arrived in the community wanting to audition for a project, right? Those are kind of 2 different conversations, and I don't know, they may just require 2 different tools, to be honest with you. So I think there's definitely a space for it. The Art House Convergence Board that I'm on, there isn't really a direct analog, but I guess there is, because there are filmmakers that are on there, and there are filmmakers saying, here's an opportunity, here's a film that I have that I thought you all might be interested in showing. And part of it is trying to make sure that, I guess one of the missions of Art House Convergence is to make sure that those filmmakers have a voice and have a space, so it naturally fits into what that board is. And most people aren't really interested in the inside baseball stuff that's going on there anyways. So it's a good question. And it's one definitely to consider how individual artists and individual shows can get promoted, and we can also have a space for larger dialogue. That's a non-answer, but it's an acknowledgement.
That it's understandable. Thank you for addressing that. Yeah. I had another question and I don't remember what it was, so my apologies. If it comes back, I'll chime in.
Back.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Kelly, this is Ron. What I heard Adam talking about in my mind is what we were really looking for in some manner of putting all of the arts groups, identifying them and using that as a way to touch each one of them when, as he points out, something is going on. And we never got into that or figured out how to do that. Is to do that?
I think it has potential because, yeah, that is definitely something that they talked about. So when talked about particularly collaboration. So Angelique, she's in. Yes, a virtual round of applause. Wonderful to see you. Yeah, the collaborative, because that came up a lot, was, I don't know, I'd like to work with other people or maybe with a venue or connect with the Art Center to do a dual thing or to connect with one of the larger organizations. And how do I do that? How do I get my business? And maybe there's some delineation between, to Adam's point, like an actor arriving in town wanting to know where to audition versus a painter that has their own business and space. How do you somehow draw the line so that the forum is helpful for everyone and has some boundaries so that people know what they can and what they'll get out of it, and for the larger venues to really connect as well. So our anchors and the event spaces as well. So that is something we'd have to navigate.
Isn't
Mark?
that the purpose of the topics, though? I mean, I don't really use these forums much. It just, I just can't imagine the downside. It just sounds like sort of a quick and easy version of the common calendar, which we've found logistically complicated to bring together. At least this would be a forum that we could promote, advance, note that it exists, and then the topics within would allow people to sort of self-sort. I mean, this is my sense from what I've heard so far. I don't see a downside.
That's where I was going, Mark.
Yeah, the calendar would be, calendaring and coordination would be for the cultural arts community, not necessarily for the public. And that's a different element. Meryl, you remembered your question?
Yeah, that was my other question. This is a great way to organize all of the arts organizations. This is a wonderful way to get all of us talking. Why aren't I on this, Adam? We've done work together. Come on now. So this is a great.
2 people on it. It doesn't exist. It's not real yet.
It's not real.
Way to really build that collaboration between all of the organizations. The next step is, how do we make it accessible? Not the group accessible, but how do we take that information from there and input it so that the public sees all the things that are happening?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the notion of having the front-facing element of this, right? I think some of it is if you get everybody talking, right, naturally that's going to happen in some ways, right? If a lot of different arts organizations are talking about everything that's happening, there's already a notion that we have of wanting to cross-promote, wanting to share what we're doing, right? I don't think arts organizations have any problem wanting to talk about what they're doing. So giving the space to do that, I think, is the most important thing. And it could be that that's one of the first topics of conversation as we add more and more members of this group, or one of the ones we're really pushing is, how do we take all of this information where we're planning this and saying, here's what we're trying to put together for a season, right? The season of calendar year 2021 in Bloomington Normal, right? This is our art season coming up. How do we promote that in a way that's effective and reaches as many audience members as possible, right? And really resonates across all corners of the community. Not just if you're a theater fan, you're going to get only theater information. If you're a music fan, you're going to get only music information, right? But everybody is getting access to everything. How do we do that? And I don't have that magic solution. If I did, I would brand it and make lots of money. That doesn't exist just yet, right? But I think that there's a way we can figure that out. It may be that there's a public-facing calendar that is the end result of a lot of these conversations, that is managed by someone and sort of consolidates the things that are confirmed and dates that we know, and then that's out on one space, right? That could be our way of accessing that, or it could be something completely different. I don't know. It could be any number of things. But I think that's a very important first topic to be talking about with everybody, to see what people think. So.
Yeah, I was going to say along that line.
Sorry, Julia.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say along that line, I've been in groups that use Google Groups as like an organizational thing, and they have calendars that you can set up with the members of the Google group where they could post, you know, like actually post things to a calendar. And I don't promise that this is possible. I don't know for sure, but given Google and all of the software capabilities that they have and, you know, widgets that are available from Google, there may be some way to just take what is put on the calendar in the Google group and shunt it to something else, to some public facing calendar, or have a way to have, you know, just have the public be able to view the calendar that we have for the group.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if there's a way of designating it as for public consumption versus an internal event, I think is really the biggest question. Like if you have a tentative date for 2022 of something, you don't necessarily want that going on the public version. But if there's a way something can be tagged as, you know, ready for public consumption and goes out, you're right. That's functionality that may be there at this point. So yeah, that's a really good suggestion. It's a really good thought.
Jong-hoon, you had a question or a comment?
I recall that last time we talked about using the calendar for all different kind of things. And then what I realized right now during this meeting was there are things like this in national and also specific genre way. And Adam, I really applaud you with the whole initiating this great opportunity. As a kind of a newbie of this town, I had to research heck of a lot for local artists, because right now, Jim, I don't know if I can say this, but I'm gonna say it. Right now, I am working on summer series and also fall series for using only Bloomington Normal and the neighbor town talents, actually. That's what I'm doing. And when I was planning for this, oh my God, it was really hard because lots of our talents were hidden. So I would love to have this kind of platform or any kind of board that we can reach out to every local artists, that we can actually help them to help us and help the town as well. So yeah, that's what my comment is actually.
Other questions, comments, input?
I guess just one thing I would throw out there again, because there is a really compelling idea of having one place that grows as a hub to be able to throw something out there and say, I need a cellist for an event. And someone can just be like, I'm a cellist. And like that's how easily it can happen, right? There is something really compelling about that. But there's also the idea of arts organizations having the ability to be able to talk about perhaps more sensitive issues. Without that being for all, like for full, I guess full public consumption, or I guess even the larger community. And I guess your thoughts on that, anybody's thoughts on, is it important to keep that distinction so that there can be some discrete conversation? If you just have it as a thread, anybody can still look at the thread, right? So how much, I mean, you know, maybe my example of saying an actor that arrives in town saying, hey, I'm here, here's my headshot and resume. Maybe that isn't the worst thing to have. Maybe there is a place to post, you know, artist in town, just arrived in town, you know, want to let you know I'm here, right? And you've got a space to be able to come and say, I am now here, I'm now part of this community, right? And I don't want to discount that person that's just arrived in town as not having really valid and valuable ideas to bring to the conversation, right? And to say, here are issues that I have seen that are universal, or here are things that I'm seeing that you're experiencing that I have just experienced in another organization, and let me share that wisdom. So I don't want there to be some kind of experience criteria necessary in order to be a member of it. Right. But I also don't want it just to become the shameless self-promotion page, right? I think that's really what everybody's worried about. So there's a balance there, and I guess I'll re-enter that into conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, that you want it to be valuable for all. And if it, particularly for not scheduling over each other, or being able to see what's going on, or I have this idea where a lot of us could come together around a single theme. Anybody, you know, what does everybody think about that? Yeah. And have that be able to be a conversation with the Giants, as one of our artists called it in November, the BCPA, the Art Center, the museum, like, in addition to my fellow artists, hey, what does anybody think to have a forum for that? I think would be really valuable and something that the community had expressed a desire for in November. And also I see that point too, where that they want to be able to have that conversation without part-time actors weighing in that really that isn't their primary role, or there is sort of a element there of you don't want it to get, you want to be able to have meaningful conversations with maybe information that isn't completely public, and have people able to respect that. And that is a hard balance to think about and get my head around.
Again, doesn't the topic thing kind of satisfy that? You have, shameless promotion, self-promotion topic, BCPA topic. And I want to be clear, are we suggesting, is the suggestion or the proposal here that the commission sort of sponsor and drive this Google forum page?
Good question. Very good question. So because I was part of me was like, wow, the commission's very variable, people move in and off, and our job is not to be responsible. Adam, bless his heart, said that he would own and get this, kind of, I call it nurturing and moving it forward, because it would need to be self-sustaining. If it was valuable, I think you'd be able to get people to say, I'll participate in the administration of the site. So our role would not be administration of the site. It would need to be organic and nurtured and participated in by the community. But our role would be to advertise it, so to speak, use the email list that the participation list that we got from our November meeting, make sure that it was available to the community, make sure that the right people knew about it, encourage people to participate. And I think I haven't really thought about this, and maybe there's a role for us to pay attention, to be involved in that, to help connect people through there. Because our role is support, advocacy, communication, bringing people together. Having the commission own and do things isn't really our role, because we move off and on and we don't have a formal role in the city. So that's where I had seen us, was like communicating it, bringing people in, maybe meeting with the different artists. Once we identify where we want to start, because there's also an element, you could start with larger organizations, or maybe artists or members of the artist community that have a business. Maybe you start there, get your conversations going, identify what's valuable, and then you kind of advertise it more broadly. You can start small and expand, but many of that's my fallback anyway, is to start small and expand.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Kelly, this is Ron. Is it worth taking this on as an initiative, or more firmly maybe a goal, and saying, this is something that's worthwhile, that we can develop, make it into some sort of a finite piece, and here, community, here it is. This is what we've done. I would suggest to you then that we establish that and figure out how to do it and move on down the road. I think we've got a good basis for it with what Adam has come up with. It's just a matter of conversation and figuring it out.
Yeah.
And then turning it over to somebody. I agree with you that we don't need to be specific, but I think this is one of the things that we talked about initially, where if we're going to be the point for the arts and culture in Bloomington Normal, this is something I think we ought to be doing.
Melissa, or was that you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the pros outweigh the cons. I think it will grow organically. And I think that it's going to be a lot like social media, right? You take what you want from it and you leave the stuff that you don't want. And I think it will self-cure. I think it will self-cure.
I like Mark's category discussion thread called shameless self-promotion. I think it's a great category. Angelique, I'm interested in your perspective because you have a cultural arts business and you do events. To have a space that you could see other events going on or see what other people, other ideas. What are you thinking?
You sound like an alien right now. Am I the only one hearing that? Okay, good.
Darth Vader.
There's like a connection issue where there was like a lot of feedback with your voice, but I heard everything. So, okay. Since I came at the tail end, I'm just going to pull together all of my previous knowledge with what I've already heard and deduct everything else. Because I think I've had a discussion with Adam about it and he showed me like how it looks and stuff like that. And yes, it can get messy. If there's a lot of tabs, but I think I like how Melissa just deducted that. So, and also what Jong-hoon was saying about finding local artists, that's going to be super huge and helpful for all of us, because there's times where I need somebody like a graffiti artist or anything like, you know what I'm saying, just a random need. And sometimes my contacts aren't available or whatever. So it'd be a really good way to find gems in the city that we weren't aware of before. As far as promoting, I don't know if we want to have like some, maybe, I don't know if it's possible to have ground rules with, we're talking about Google Groups, right? Yeah, is it possible to have ground rules like with that? Like, is there like a moderator? Is there like constant moderators, or are there?
Yeah,
There would be a moderator, and Adam's offered to take that on initially, and then that's something for the, you know, maybe the commission is a member of the commission, maybe that is a role every year, is like the backup moderator, or to make sure that we have a moderator. That would be something maybe we could consider, but Adam's offered to kind of take that on initially.
Okay, before I continue, what did Julie say?
Oh, I was just gonna say that's something I think that maybe we as the commission could do. I actually don't necessarily have a problem with it being our thing. Like if we want, to, if you're talking about, making sure that we have the right forum boards available for people to post on, like, so that the people who want to promote themselves can do it in their spot, and the people who, want to coordinate events can do it in another place, and then have a calendar. Like, well, yes, you're going to need moderators because that's how it works on the internet. And I think that that's something that as commissioners we could do. I mean, I would definitely be willing to be a board moderator. It's not like a terribly difficult thing to learn if anybody else hasn't had any experience. I mean, I guess I've done it before, but it's not a terribly difficult thing to do. And I don't necessarily think it's a problem that, the people on the commission move and change, because it's kind of like, we would just write up our own rules or whatever. Cause I saw on Adam's screen share, like there are rules posted for that group. And one, and that would be then what we do is we make sure that, people are following the rules and address it if they're not. And I think that would be a reasonable role for us to fill.
I appreciate that. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I was just asking because, like I said, I know it could, with all of the artists in town, it would just get really, really annoying. And then I would just throw the app away altogether if every single artist was like, I have new artwork for sale. I have new artwork for sale. I have new artwork for sale. And then like, or, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like a huge event or a big collaboration. It's just like they're weekly or daily or something like that. I'm just trying to like avoid.
But you could manage that, right? As a recipient in the group, you can tell it what your preferences are.
I never used it. And like I said, I'm coming in at the end of this. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Adam can chime in, but I think you can tell it, you can subscribe. Like, I want this information. I don't want that information. Cause I agree. It could easily get unwieldy and overwhelming, but I think depending on what your interests are, you can tell it when to notify you, when to not. You can go in as a user and sort of control your own experience. So you're not getting like you know, it's like, I'm one of those people who has no notifications on my phone. Like, I don't want to be bombarded. So I think you can tell it what you want.
I think you can also search. You can search it too. So if you're wanting to know something about, trombones, who knows where they might be mentioned within artwork, within musical performance, BCPA. So you'd get all references like to a trombone. I'm assuming that can be done. I don't spend a lot of time on forum boards, but
yeah, they've tried to make it as digestible as possible. So I didn't mean the pun that's there, but they actually have it so that you can set it so that you get an email notification when anybody posts anything. You can have it just do a summary at the end of the day. You can have it do, I think, a weekly summary as well, or you can just choose to have none of that, and you have to actively be logged into, logged onto Google in the Google group to see anything that's been posted. So you can really, because yeah, I mean, there are people that say, oh yeah, no, I have it ping anytime somebody posts something, and I'm like, why would you do that? That's just a horrible thing to do to yourself. So I get the digest version of it, and then I can see, and sometimes there's 60 posts that are summarized saying this topic was posted and here's 9 responses from it. And that's a really easy way to be able to say that isn't necessarily applicable to me. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I should click on and learn more about that. So yeah, you can filter it that way. The other thing too is that a Google group's a Google group, and if once you're logged in and using it, those of you watching the demo saw me just do it, where I clicked on one and said, oh, actually it's not that one, and I just clicked on one below. It could very well be that we start this as an all skate group that everybody is able to participate in, and it sort of self-identifies as what it needs to be. And then as we get further along, there could be an arts administration group that is just for people that are running venues. And it could be that there are people that are just for festivals considerations, right? And it could be that subgroups form out of this, that people are moderating and saying, yeah, we really want to talk about what it's like to work specifically with musicians in town. And we don't want all the musicians in town to necessarily be a part of that conversation because we're talking about contracting, or we're talking about more sensitive issues, right? So that can always self-identify later as a need, and then the group is as simple as just having another thing over on the side that you can jump in on if you want to. So yeah, so there are ways to do it, to be sure.
Jeff.
Another thought, I don't know if this would be a good idea or a bad idea, but if we're trying to control kind of the culture of the group, so to speak, if maybe in the beginning, as we're starting, it becomes an invitation only, so we can kind of bring in some of the people that we think are going to have those constructive conversations and subgroups and things like that, so that when we open it to the public, there's something that's kind of got a structure and some bones to it, so people can kind of go, oh, that makes sense, or it doesn't, and it doesn't just run away with self-promotion or something else. I mean, when you're talking about this, all I could think of was MySpace, and I know I'm dating myself, but back when MySpace was trying to be the Facebook, and then it just went off in another world, and
I loved MySpace.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I'm hearing, so definitely needs moderation, a moderator. And I like the idea of seeing where it would go. I also like the idea of getting its feet under it. So yeah, maybe that, we look at a list and say we invite, let's invite 20 people and let's moderate it. Let's see what's going on, and then expand it from there. See what topics bubble up, and maybe build that out a little bit. That and Angelique, I agree with you. If you like open it up and hey, artistic free for all, it will be just a not valuable free for all.
Yeah, it seems prudent to prototype it, as Jeff is suggesting, and like we could even, or whoever decides to, if we're partnering or if we're sponsoring this, we could set up the initial topics. But I think though ultimately it's really important that it not be passworded and it not be you have to form a member, because it'd be very nice if you could maybe to post, I guess, and that's how it works. To post you have to be a member, but to view it would be really great if it could just come up in a search. Because it'd be a means that somebody comes to the community, somebody's passing through the community, wants to know about the arts in Bloomington Normal. They search Google Arts Bloomington Normal or something, and this forum board amongst the BCPA and others would come up as an information source. So I think it should be open to the public ultimately, but I think the prototype is a good idea.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Marc just said, I'm echoing for that. I think we need to have like a subcategory of our, if there is a big title of that group members, and there should be sub group of the venue people and also the artists. And artist parts can be to open to the public as a view, but when artists are listing something or answering something in the topic, they should be the member of that group. Otherwise, they cannot put it. And also the venue group should be a little bit private because as Adam just mentioned, those are very sensitive part, you know, how much get paid, the contract work, and the collaborating with other people. And, you know, when we are arranging the dates, it's our, the organization's responsibility to not to double book in the same day. Did I make clear for that? Yeah, it's my responsibility to research that I do not book something on the same day when normal theater is doing something. So that one can be left out, but the artist part should be more free as a search and view part.
To Adam's point, maybe that ends up being two connected but similar groups, and one is more secure, invite only for venues that are contracting with artists. Like, you know, you try to come up with some parameters, and then the other one is more open to all, and the venues would be a member of both. Defined artists coming to town. All right, so I have kind of a hard stop at 8:30, and we are 2 minutes away from that. Angelique?
Good. Okay, so Braemar Jewelry and Body of Bloomington contracted BCAI to do temporary installation murals on their storefronts. So if you get a chance to go over there, we're gonna, I think today is the last day we're working on them. So if you want to come check those out, it's really exciting because they got plywood up. So, but yeah, we finished Bremer last night, and it's really, really awesome. So definitely come check that out, take pictures, post it. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Appreciate that. So from here, do we have a couple of people like Julia? You had some great points about being like, you know, maybe a member of the commission is one of the moderators. You know, maybe there's a commissioner and then one of the cultural arts members or something. Maybe we do dual moderation. Would you be, do we have a couple of people that'd be willing to maybe do a little bit more work, research Google Groups, really see what's going on, maybe think about parameters between now and our next meeting, and come back with maybe some thoughts and recommendations over?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had some experience with Google Groups, so and something that I'm happy to work on.
Anyone else want to like explore this around and work with Julia? Angelique? You're saying maybe?
I'm saying kind of, because I have a lot on my plate, and I am willing to like sit down like once or twice to kind of like get a feel for it and see what I could contribute. But because I don't like leaving people hanging, and I hate silence in the room when people are like, I need this done. And then so like I will help. I will sit down once or twice and try to help out with that. But yeah.
Well, and I will do some, I need to play around with stuff, so I'll do some research on Google Groups. I'll go to the one Adam sent. We'll put the link to the one you have in our notes, so people can go in. We could all go in and see it. And if there's an example of a Google group that's public, that's more active, I don't know how to see. And maybe knowing Google, there's probably like a video that shows you how it's done and different ways to do it. And maybe we can find something like that. That would be very, very helpful. So because I did research, and what we would recommend over the next few weeks would be where we would like to go. And do we start, and thinking about what group we would start with. I think some thought needs to be around that too. Adam's ready to talk to his peeps in the venue field. And then it's a great way to start with that central calendar, even though it's with the artists themselves, but that's certainly, or the venues and the artists themselves, certainly that's a place to start those, so they don't, so we have a more coordinated calendar. So we are at time. Other input? Members, Tina, Keyshia, do you have any questions?
Before ends, Adam, we need to talk. Yeah, I just no. Your name has no. Adam, we need to talk because I met several people and a lot of people referred to you, and they said when I threw my idea, and they kind of told me that I need to have a conversation with you because you and I have a similar kind of plan for the future. Excellent. So yeah, let's do that.
That's great. Look forward to it.
Great. So Shannon, I'll work with you on the notes. I'm taking a few here, so we'll work together on that before we go out. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness, yeah. Note taker extraordinary. And then we'll send those out, but also ask some questions in the notes. So we'll try to get those out right away, but you and I can kind of connect and work on that.
So
right?
are we going to try to get some kind of, I mean, because I in past experience, it seems like this is kind of an important advance, and we would want to do it kind of soon because it's maybe the summer art season, and at some point, arts will become more active. So are we going to try to like get a prototype or something going for next week to next month to view, and then vote on our blessing from the commission and or our level of engagement? Is that kind of what we're shooting for here?
I'm thinking that maybe we try to come back together even in a couple weeks, see if we can, because the prototype exists. If we can think on, and people can think on what groupings there might be, and that's where Shannon and I work on the notes. So I put that out. Here's the ideas that we heard. What are your thoughts around that? And then maybe come back together in a couple weeks to maybe vote on a direction that we would like to try, and how we're going to support this, and then kind of go from that. Because I agree, it needs to be a quick thing. Bless Adam's heart, he had this done and kind of pitched this in December. So yes, we should try to move this forward quickly for prototype status. Other ideas on how to move it forward quickly?
Well, I guess I would say, since it's a forum and since it's a community that in some ways, I mean, the tool itself will kind of define itself. I mean, in some ways, just doing it is kind of the easiest way to do it. I mean, you can research Google groups and look for what Google groups are out there, or you can just jump on the Google group and start using it. And I mean, I think you'll find a much more relevant thing if you say, well, here's a question that I've got in my mind that didn't come up during the meeting or didn't come up in another conversation, but hey, is anybody else thinking about this kind of festival? And I think naturally the dialogue just starts happening. And then from there, you really quickly realize, oh, okay, well, these are the people I wish were on this group with us, or in this group with us. These are the questions that we can ask. These are the tools that I wish we had to be able to access as a way of answering it. So, the Department of Cultural Arts from Town of Normal, I mean, we're happy to, again, host this and make the whole thing happen, and then have co-moderation. Like, we would love to have co-moderators and make this something that we're all working on together. But I guess I'd say we don't need to reinvent it as much as probably just put it into an alpha and we're going.
I agree. And I am happy to work on that accelerated timeline of just doing it.
Yeah, I think we need to be ready in July to come up with a short list of people to invite to start, even if it's a small group. Like, we need to we won't know really how to use it and how to grow it and how it best works until we get a group in there using it.
And we can start with ourselves. I mean, we'll share the link and we can go in there and also think about that. Which can't be a meeting. but certainly Meryl could be invited and Angelique could be invited because they are cultural arts businesses. So maybe we can work around, we want to stay in our legal meetings capacity, but certainly to start some conversations, talk about the summer season and what you guys are thinking of, and maybe start with that and think about who we want to invite in to start that conversation and just go forward.
And since we haven't met during the pandemic time, we can meet, like you mentioned, in a couple of weeks, and as long as we post it, it's a totally fair meeting of the commission. And I mean, I'm willing to, it's a little easier to meet at 7:30 at home. I mean, frankly, so it's up to,
Yes.
it's up to you all.
Yeah, I think that if we could come back together in 2 weeks, that would be very, very good. And in the meantime, jump in, look at this. And then Angelique and Meryl, maybe you could sort of like pretend you have events coming up or something, because I assume you can delete some posts.
You don't have to pretend.
Okay.
Have you met us?
Yeah, let's use the tool. Let's use it for what it can be.
Yeah, let's just use it. And we'll start with you guys. So yes, I'm going to exploit your day jobs.
Happy to exploit my day job.
Yeah. Or events at the temple, maybe, another element. Sometimes you guys have music events there.
Not right now.
Very cool. All right, I have to go, but Shannon, I've got a note here that you and I'll give you a call and maybe I might have some time tomorrow. I don't know what your hours are, but I'll send you an email and we can kind of connect on that.
Yeah, I'll put together our notes that I have right now.
We don't have to go too deep, but yeah, I'll add to those and we'll get those. So
cool.
Cool.
Good meeting, guys.
Thanks,
Melissa, I'm about to send you an email. Melissa, I'm about to send you an email, so please look out for it. Okay, thanks. Bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Adam.
Do we have to?
Everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
No? Okay. Bye.
Seconded? I don't know.
We tried.
Even on this commission. It's good to see you, Angelique. I'll see you.
Always good to see you. I'll hit you up.
Sounds good.